And welcome to the progress session for the Enterprise Integration Summit, where the focus today will be on hybrid integration. Our speaker this morning, James Goodfellow, Senior Product Marketing Manager at Progress. James, welcome.
Thanks, Vance. It's great to be here.
Yeah, we're glad to have James with us this morning, too. He focuses on the Data Direct suite of solutions for cloud and on-premise data connectivity across relational and NoSQL, big data, and SaaS data resources. So you name it, you have a diverse enterprise between on-prem and cloud, and Progress has got solutions for you. He's a frequent speaker and blogger, in fact, on all manners of data connectivity. And that expertise will be on display this morning in his session, Simplifying Hybrid Data Integration with Progress Data Direct. Even with the shift to cloud, many essential data systems have remained on premise, and that's certainly the case here in the era of COVID and work from home. Business users still demand ease of use and ease of access and tight security for all these distributed systems. So today we're going to look at how Progress Data Direct Hybrid Data Pipeline is specially designed for these solutions and offers real-time and secure data access. Just a quick note before we get to the session, you can download James's slides. Just click the big red button under the view screen. You'll see James has also provided us some great downloads and other white papers and assets. They're available for you right now, no registration required. And we'd love to put you in touch with our speaker. So any questions, just type in the submit a question box. And with that, James, let me turn it back to you. Tell us about how to simplify hybrid data integration.
Thank you, Vance. I appreciate the introduction, and I really appreciate IDN inviting us out here to speak today. So hello again, as Vance said, my name is James Goodfellow, and I am a product marketing manager with Data Direct here at Progress. And today, as you can see on the screen, I am going to be talking about simplifying hybrid data integration with Progress Data Direct. So more specifically, today we're going to talk to you about how industry trends toward hybrid data and how products like Hybrid Data Pipeline can help enterprises achieve this seamless data access across cloud-based and on-premises applications and data. But before we get started, I want to let you know a little bit about what to expect. So I'll kick things off just by walking through a couple of these slides that describe the changes in the industry as we've seen it. And then I want to walk through several slides that talk about how we approach those trends and those changes in the industry. And then finally, as Vance said, we'll wrap it up with some Q&A. All right, so let's start at the beginning. Data access has definitely changed a lot over the past few decades. We've gone from connecting one machine to another and then to a network of data sources. And now, of course, we have this near limitless number of on-premises and cloud-based data sources that we can connect to. Well, enterprises have traditionally had a limited sphere of systems to connect to, say, relational databases or data warehouses, et cetera, while on-site controlled systems didn't require extensive authentication or security measures. And to meet this need, ISVs and enterprises would traditionally build SQL connectors that are traditional wired protocol-driven ODBC or JDBC. So let's take a look at maybe what one of these traditional SQL approach architecture would look like. So this should look pretty familiar. We have a wide variety here of internal data stores that we can access from whatever preferred BI or analytics tools that an enterprise wants to use. These sources are generally going to be accessed again by ODBC or JDBC connections. And because they are all on site and within the firewall, these connections are generally going to be pretty fast, they're going to be reliable, and they're going to be secure. So as we all know, on-prem data is not always the most practical option. More and more data sources and applications are moving to the cloud. So these public and private cloud deployments and migrations are expected to grow significantly in the foreseeable future. So this chart here from Forbes from a few years back, I think does a great job of illustrating that we'll continue to see this strong spending growth year over year through at least the next decade in public and private cloud infrastructure. And while many data sources are shifting to the cloud, this doesn't mean that we can just wholesale abandon our legacy on-premises applications, but it does mean that we need to find a way to access all of this data, no matter where it sits, no matter which location, with that same speed, and would want to be able to expect that same level of security as we do with integrating on-prem data. So while this shift to hybrid cloud and hybrid data is generally seen as a positive for enterprises, it isn't without its challenges. So here are just a few samples of the challenges that we have run into with both enterprises and with software vendors themselves. So regardless of where the data resides, we need it to function as if it's all stored in-house and is easy and convenient and most of all quick to access. We are all still held to those same standards when it comes to the security of our data and the compliance rules we face. In a lot of ways, the concern only deepens as we move to a hybrid model and data is moved between applications and sources both within and outside of the firewall. So we need data at the speed of business. Cloud storage loses value if our customers and our internal consumers are constantly waiting for it to load. Real time or near real time is essential, I'd say, for a lot of the application reporting and decision making that we're all on the hook for. And so for all of these reasons and more, we've developed a solution to try to address the challenges that ISVs and enterprises are facing when it comes to this hybrid data model. To meet these challenges, we continue to innovate with a product we call the Hybrid Data Pipeline. Hybrid Data Pipeline is a self-hostable hybrid connectivity solution that allows you to run in the cloud. You can run it on-prem, and it does three really key things. It enables firewall-friendly access to on-prem data sources. It allows you to expose your data sources for an open analytics via SQL or REST, and it lets you create a single interface to access any cloud data source. So what does that all mean, and how does that work for you? So let's dive a little bit deeper into each of these use cases for how hybrid data deployment and especially integration across hybrid data. So first, firewall-friendly access to on-prem data sources. So Hybrid Data Pipeline features a secure hybrid data gateway that lets you access data behind any firewall without complex network configurations such as SSH tunnels or reverse proxies or VPNs. And unlike VPN, SSH and other traditional solutions, our services are engineered for the cloud to include a scalable architecture, access management, security, and data compression. So users can host the hybrid connectivity solution in your cloud or on-prem in your own DMZ. And you can get real-time connectivity to the latest big data or relational or NoSQL data sources. All right, so next, Hybrid Data Pipeline allows you to expose your data sources for open analytics projects via SQL or REST. And by open analytics, I simply mean being able to take application data and be able to push it out to whatever BI or analytics tool you're using, and you're not married to one specific native tool. So what you can do here is you can actually deploy a standard REST data access layer for your database. You can make your data accessible to any BI or analytics platform. You can expose that on-prem data from behind the firewall to cloud apps across the firewall. And you can do so by keeping real-time access to on-prem data right on demand. So enabling you to just keep sensitive data behind your firewall and still comply with those strict data privacy laws like GDPR, for example. So with Hybrid Data Pipeline, you get a single interface to access any cloud data source. So you can access all of your SaaS and cloud apps like Salesforce or Google Analytics or Oracle Sales Cloud, Eloqua, many more, right? You can access data through the interface of your choice, whether it is ODBC or JDBC, and you can connect one interface to many SaaS APIs, each with different rules for authentication and for querying and metadata and quality of service, and you only have to punch one hole in your firewall as opposed to having to basically set up an independent connection for each of these different applications. So what's new with the latest release, and we're constantly iterating on this product, Hybrid Data Pipeline now packs an even more punch to the functionality when it comes to helping you securely connect with enterprise data really wherever it lives. These new features include REST API connectivity. So we've combined the functionality from another product that we have called Progress DataDirect's Autonomous REST Connector, which is kind of a mouthful, but essentially it's an API It is a tool that allows you to instantly create a connection to an API and enabling you to SQL query that data. So in combining that functionality with Hybrid Data Pipeline, it will enable users to access and query API data using just standard SQL. We've also introduced multi-tenant user management, which is a great set of new features that enable you as a customer to more effectively manage all the users and the data sources and server settings on a tenant by tenant basis. And then transactional support. So HDP supports transactions against data stores such as Oracle or DB2 or MySQL or Microsoft SQL Server. These transactions are supported for JDBC, ODBC, and OData, plus a lot of really cool other features. So what's the bottom line? Hybrid Data Pipeline offers your enterprise or you as an ISV that fast, secure, and scalable access to cloud and on-prem data in real time. And so with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Vance to see if we've had any questions come in.
James, excellent session. Really good overview of hybrid integration in particular and a look at Progress Hybrid Data Pipeline. You asked for questions. We've got a few, actually, kind of high level as well as what we might call implementation. So let's get to them, huh?
Sounds great. Thank you.
So let's kick off with a big one. You mentioned a couple times that the hybrid trend is profound and getting even bigger. And one of the questions here kind of highlights that issue with the scale of the Progress solution. With the Progress Hybrid Data Pipeline, the question says, is there a limit to the number of on-prem or cloud endpoints we can have?
No, that's the great thing about Hybrid Data Pipeline is it's infinitely scalable to the number of different endpoints that you're planning to use. That's going to allow for you to not sort of age out as you bring on more and more cloud-based sources. And then if you're also in a position where you're adding more endpoints within the firewall on-prem, it's not going to limit you that way either.
Excellent, James. Excellent. You know, another topic was security. You mentioned that several times, and that's certainly of interest here to our attendees. Here's a question. We have a distributed environment across multiple locations, so security is certainly an issue for us. Does the Progress Hybrid Data Pipeline bypass our firewall?
That's such a good question. And when I think about all the different customer implementations and interactions we have, security is always top of mind. And integrity of firewall is always top of mind. So we do not bypass the firewall. Hybrid Data Pipeline, instead, it tunnels through the firewall. It allows you to connect between your on-prem and external data sources in the cloud through a single tunnel, as opposed to every time you bring on a new cloud-based application or a new on-prem based application, instead of having to retunnel or punch new holes in that firewall, instead, it's going to run through Hybrid Data Pipeline's tunnel. It's all going to be managed through one interface or through one tool. And really what that's going to do is that's going to simplify things from an IT execution standpoint. You're going to not run afoul of your security protocols by opening the thing up too wide. So turning it over to Hybrid Data Pipeline doesn't bypass the firewall. It just helps strengthen your position within the firewall.
Yeah, that's really powerful, that idea that you can have consolidated tunneling, if I might put it that way, and not violate your basic security architecture.
Exactly.
Excellent, excellent. Question about implementation here, James. I mentioned might have a couple of those. Does the Hybrid Data Pipeline connect with our home-built tools as well as traditional off-the-shelf technology?
Absolutely. That's another really good question because so many enterprises are going to have legacy systems that they've developed over the years. They may wish to ultimately move off of them, but for the time being, business is running on them and data is traveling to and from those applications. And so what we want to do is we want to allow any application or data source internally is homegrown. If you can connect to it via ODBC or JDBC, then Hybrid Data Pipeline can connect with it and can connect it back to whatever tool you're trying to connect it to. So yes, we absolutely work with homegrown tools. We're open standards. So if it's ODBC or JDBC compliant, then we're able to work with it.
Fantastic. Fantastic. You know, James, this is really going well. You know, we talked about the pipeline. We talked about the endpoints. Let's talk about the data inside a little bit. Here's a question that kind of caught my eye. Can we use Hybrid Data Pipeline to combine structured and streaming data?
Absolutely. And there are a lot of cloud-based streaming data sources that are pumping out a lot of data. And so we have seen that in implementation time and time again, where that data needs to be pulled in along with other sources. And hybrid data pipeline is almost agnostic to what the data is and how fast it's coming, and more focused on just making the connections with those endpoints and allowing them to talk to one another.
Really excellent, really excellent. And kind of a related question to that, you mentioned real time, James, a couple times, and that was picked up on here too. The question says, we have a performance question. What does Progress do to minimize latency and speed data correlations?
When we talk about real time, the idea is that however quick the application is that's serving up the data, or however quick the data source is that's serving up the data, that's how quick it will be with hybrid data pipeline. We're not going to slow anything down at all. We're not going to be a bottleneck in the process. So if you're getting real-time data from an application running on AWS, you're going to continue to get that real-time data if that is how it's currently running. So we're not going to impede that one bit. We're simply piping or a conduit to make sure that it gets to where it needs to be at the same rate that you would expect on a direct one-to-one connection.
Excellent, excellent. So just to summarize here, James, I see time is just about up, but just to underscore the value here is that with hybrid data pipeline, we've got endpoints for both hybrid and cloud. We've got both off-the-shelf and custom software that it works at, and it can actually connect with and deliver data to where I want it to go without any friction. So it's really quite a nice little elastic data services layer for me.
That's a great way to put it, yes.
Fantastic. Before we go, let's get into a little info of how people can learn more. So many good questions here. I'm sure that given we're limited on time, they'd like to get more technical info or maybe even go hands-on with a trial or a sandbox. What do you suggest, James, for some next steps?
Well, the best step is going to be to go out to our website at progress.com/datadirect. And when you're there, you can take a 14-day free trial of hybrid data pipeline. It's full functionality. You can install it in your environment and find out if it works for you. We also have a large suite of point-to-point connectors that are going to help you connect applications and data sources across some of the most popular vendors that are out there and applications that are out there. And those are all available for 14-day trials as well. And there's plenty of more tech specs and white papers if you want to peruse those. So I highly recommend go out there to the DataDirect website and you'll find everything you need.
Yeah, James, this has been great. In fact, thanks to your team, we've got many of the links that you mentioned right here in the breakout room. So all you attendees out there, you can take a look at the link to the free trial and to the Progress website directly here from under the view screen here in the room. And with that, let me thank James Goodfellow, Senior Product Marketing Manager at Progress, for a terrific session and a really great look at how modern integration for hybrid architectures doesn't have to require a lot of high-level architects or a lot of tedious coding, that there are all sorts of ways to do it with some great fabric and pre-built connectors. So James, thanks again for a great session.
Vance, thank you so much. I appreciate again you and IDN inviting me out here today, and this has been fantastic.
Yeah, for us too, James. I mean, you really hit on one of the bigger trends we're seeing these days. So thanks again to James for our attendees. And just a quick note, many things going on there at Progress Data Direct. We didn't have room for everything. So we put together a slide that'll take you to some other great resources directly from the Progress Data Direct website. Download James' slide, and all these links you see on the screen will be available and live. Thanks again, everyone.